Hello, and welcome to Cousin Chat, where we talk about what matters. I'm your host, Donna Pizant, and joining me today for this chat is Brandi Mcalister. Brandi, say hello to the people.
Hello.
Brandi, it's so good to have you back. Now, for those of you who follow Cousin Chat, you may have seen her on two other interviews that I did with her. And she is a life coach, a spiritual life coach, and she actually calls herself a friend advisor. Why is that? Because she is more like a friend that advises you. Did I get that right, Brandi?
Yes.
Yes. So, yes, if you hear that term friend advisor anywhere, just remember where you heard it first. Okay. Miss Brandi. All right, so now, Brandi, the last time you were here, you were talking about a few things that were cooking up. And so you have something coming up soon. But you talked a little bit last time about your foundation. Can you tell us that your nonprofit, organization? Can you tell us a little bit about that again? And for some people, it'll be the first time, but can you just refresh our memories and tell us how that came about and, yeah, how did it get started?
Absolutely. First and foremost, thank you for having me again. It's always a pleasure when you and I get to connect. So I thank you again for this opportunity to be on your platform to share what I have going on. So, like you mentioned, my nonprofit is called Blessed by Brandi Incorporated. It's a 501c3 nonprofit organization. And the mission is to address the whole person by tapping into the mind, the heart and spirit to get to the root of our issues that have had the greatest impact on us spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and physically. And I host events, panel discussions, and open forums geared towards spirituality, wellness, and mental health to enrich one's life. And so, Blessed by Brandi Incorporated, it actually started off as with my book signings. It started off as events with my book signing. I had my second book signing February of 2020, and back then it was called Books Bubbly and Blessed by Brandi. Books, of course, represented books, but it also represented just like knowledge. Bubbly, it represented just, I have a bubbly personality and just being full of life and joyful. And then Blessed by Brandi represented just the gems that I would drop. And gems stand for God enthused messages spoken from our heart, just to encourage one another. And so around this time, I had just became certified as a life coach and spiritual coach. And September of 2020, I hosted my first group coaching session at Liberty State Park. And so my cousin who lives in Texas, he's one of my greatest supporters, and he used to see just what I was doing on Facebook, and he's like, "Yo, cuz, I think you need to make this a nonprofit." I was like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah, the type of work that you're doing, I think you need to make this a nonprofit." So I still wanted to keep Blessed by Brandi, but what I did was to just separate the two from the coaching and then make the events portion the nonprofit. So that's how I came up with Blessed by Brandi Incorporated.
Okay, that sounds amazing. So I know you have an event coming up soon, but before we get there, can you tell us about some of the other events that you've had? I know I've seen some posts that you did something like a wellness day for men or something like that.
Yes,
Yeah, tell us
yes.
about some of
I've been I've been so busy, Donna. I hosted this year in March. I hosted an event called Money and Mimosas. I partnered with a financial advisor who was on my panel discussion February of 2021, and it was basically to tap into the our finances, right? Talking about life insurance, talking about checking and savings and banking and things like that. Followed up with that, I ended up having a one-day wellness event called it was called Pray, Bloom, and Thrive. And I partnered with my line sister, Jasmine. She's my business bestie. And her and I are both entrepreneurs. So it was Pray the Impossible. Bloom, her company is called Bloom and Groom Wellness Lounge, and then Thrive. So that was a one-day women's event. And the basis of that event was because we as women, we don't take care of ourselves. So we wanted to put together an event where they would be pampered. We had yoga, meditation. We did a makeup session, we did wellness services, and then they had a photo shoot, and then we had dinner after that. So it was just to make them thrive, right? To make them feel alive and to feel good about themselves. So because we did it for women, we're like, you know what? We need to do something for the guys. And so maybe a couple of weeks ago, we hosted Mindset, Health, and Wealth. And I partnered with Dennis. He's a personal trainer. His company is called The Den. And then we partnered with Jason Murray. He's a financial advisor. And then we partnered with Aaron Eason. He's also a life coach and he's into personal training. And he's also a mindset. He talks about mindset. And so that was an amazing turnout. And I know some men may have been like, but you know, once the guys got there, they were like, we needed this. I think it was an event that they didn't know that they needed until they got there, right? We had a panel discussion. We spoke about mindset, health, and wealth. Jasmine provided the facial services for guys. We did a mini facial service. We did massages. We also had dinner there. And they also had a photo shoot. The guys had a photo shoot too.
Nice.
So, so it was just, you know, I just love to give back to the community in any way that I can, especially when it deals with like spirituality, wellness, and mental health, because I know within our community it's so important. And now people are speaking more about like mental health and like spirituality as well. But I feel like having these type of events, I'm providing a safe space for people, right? I'm providing this environment where they can let their hair down or they can loosen their tie and just network and connect with like-minded people. And so those were the couple of like the main events that I had this year.
So for the men who came to that, was this their first time for some of them getting a facial and getting pampered like that?
It was, I think, I had about 12 men in attendance, and it was there. A couple of them had a facial before, but for the most part, like none of them have been to an event of that caliber. I had 2 men bring their dads, and that was like, I think that was the highlight for me, to see 2 seasoned men there, and they're telling me like, when's the next event? They've never had a facial before. They've never been to an event like that. So just to see God blessing me with the ability to have a platform to bridge that gap and bring these 2 generations together to experience something together. And I thought it was pretty interesting and pretty dope that the guys were able to bond with their father on another level.
Right. And it's also
right? You can go fishing, you can play sports, but to actually go and receive information and wisdom and knowledge, and then also too, men need self-care. And so for them to experience that, it just blew my mind. Like, okay, Brandi, we are definitely on the right track and on to something.
I'm glad you actually did that. What made you decide to do that particular event for men?
For men, you know why? Because Jasmine, she has a heavy male following, and the groom part of Bloom and Groom is for the men, and she does a lot of facials for men, and she has the beard kit and things like that. And so by us partnering together, and I have a heavy women-based following, and so I just know, like, my dad, he used to come up to all my events, and he's like, where are all the men? How come I'm the only man that's always here? And I'm like, you know what? I need to do something for the men that's tailored just to them, right? Not have a combined or a joint event, but where it's just tailored to men. And so after we did the one-day wellness event for women, Cuzn and I were like, you know what? Let's see how it goes, to see, about having this event, geared towards men. And it's like, they're like, okay, this is an annual thing now. And they're like, next time we're going to bring somebody. So yeah, that's how that happened.
Yeah, word of mouth. And see, since they all had a good time, they will tell other people, and then you will get them back next year and then some. So it actually just sounds like a perfect combination. Well, see, now you mentioned your dad. So that's going to lead me into the event that you have coming up. So tell us about the event you have coming up. I believe it's September 11th. So it's in like 2 days. So tell us about it.
Right, exactly, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, so this event is called Cocktails and Kicks. It's a fundraising event. This is my second annual fundraiser. Last year was my first annual event, and it was a Kentucky Derby fundraising brunch, and it was Fall for the Possible. And so this year I am raising funds for lung cancer. My father, he passed and transitioned from stage 4 lung cancer in December of 2021. And he lived in South Carolina. And when I had my event last year, he would always say like, oh, you know what, I'm going to come to the event. And he's like, no, I may not. Then he's like, you know what, I'm going to come because this may be my last event. But I would always like, just brush him off, not paying him any attention, right? And so having him at that event and then finding out literally, I didn't know he was sick. He knew he was sick, but didn't tell me how sick he was. And so when he was at the event and just knowing that was his last event, I'm like, you know what, I got to keep this going because he would want me to do that. And so it gave me, after him passing, it gave me a different purpose and drive and motivation with Blessed by Brandi. And it's more than just a name, right? Blessed by Brandi, because had I not had that event last year, he wouldn't have had a reason to persevere and push through to make sure that he was here. Mm-hmm. And so Blessed by Brandi saved my dad's life for 87 days. He was here, he got here September 8th and he passed December 3rd. So for 87 days, Blessed by Brandi was able to keep him here because of the event and the idea that God had given me. And so to keep his memory alive and to just continue to honor him, I said that, I'm going to raise funds for lung cancer. And, it was a trying time, those 3 months, trying to get him health insurance and things of that nature. But long story short, he had gotten approved for this program to receive treatment. And it was a nonprofit. They were going to pay for his treatment, but unfortunately, he passed a week before we got the approval letter. And so for me, I'm like, I want to be able to give back and change someone else's story, right? Like, I want their ending hopefully to be a little bit different than how my dad's was. Maybe they would be able, if they were able to have the treatment, can be here a little bit longer. So, it was just on my heart to just have this event, continue it, have this fundraiser event, and then, to be a blessing to someone else.
Yeah, that is awesome. Awesome. And it's such a good cause. So do you are you looking for sponsors? Do you need sponsors? Is this something that you always need because it's a nonprofit? Nonprofits, for people who don't know, it's not like there are people who work, you know what I mean? Like, it's money comes in from all places that will see if they feel like the foundation is not worthy, but if they feel like it's a good cause, people will sometimes just donate. So do you need sponsors? Are you looking for sponsors?
Absolutely. I am not turning down anything. Okay. So if people would love to, if it's on their heart, if they would love to donate to help me raise funds, they can go to www.blessedbybrandi.org. And on my website, there's an option for you to donate. No amount is too small. If people want to purchase a ticket and, I can raffle off that ticket to someone, they can go on Eventbrite, or they can go on my Instagram page, which is blessed_by_Brandi with an I_INC. And the Eventbrite link is in the bio. So absolutely, sponsors, any way that people feel that they can help, I am open. My heart is open to receive whatever it is that they choose to, bless us with. And I always say this scripture rather, but God blesses us so that we can be a blessing to others.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about. So, and that's also Blessed by Brandi. God has blessed me in so many ways. And so, God has blessed me. So it's my responsibility and due diligence to be a blessing to other people.
Right. And that's why I wanted to kind of point out that because it's a nonprofit, and also people can use it as a tax write-off if they are looking at it like that. But nonprofits always need donations and sponsors and money so that they can have events. and you don't have
Exactly.
to come out of your pocket. These are things that you're doing to benefit other people. And I know you've been in your pocket plenty of times to make a lot of your events
Absolutely.
happen. But if you can get people who want to get behind what you're doing, I just want to
Yeah.
put it out there. And you also
Thank you.
mentioned giving back. So now that we're talking about giving back, I also noticed that at your event this weekend, you plan to bless some caregivers. Now,
Yes.
I have a strong feeling about caregivers because I don't think they get enough thank yous. I don't think they get as many, I appreciate yous as they should sometimes get, because I think a lot of times the people that they're caring for sometimes don't have the mental capacity sometimes to say thank you, because
Yes.
maybe they have Alzheimer's or, dementia, whatever the case may
Yes.
be.
Yes.
But sometimes caregivers, the people that they're caring for just can't articulate the thank yous. And I appreciate what you're doing for me. Thank you for making sure my medication is measured correctly, or, thank you for reminding me to eat. They don't
Mhm.
get that, but sometimes they need that, and also self care. Sometimes they don't take care of themselves because they're
Yes.
so busy taking care of other people. And so they let themselves go, not as in looking bad and haggard, but just
Right.
they don't concentrate on what they need to do for themselves because they
Absolutely.
are caring for other people. So I noticed that you plan to bless 3 caregivers. Why did you decide to do that at this particular event?
It kind of goes hand in hand with honoring my father with lung cancer, because I was his caregiver for 87 days. And for those 87 days, when I say it was frustrating, it was heavy, it was, it took a toll on me mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically. And being that my father was living in South Carolina, and once we found out, oh, that was the other thing. I literally found out the day after that event that he had stage 4 lung cancer. So finding that out, and then making the executive decision, like, you are not going back to South Carolina. So trying to get his paperwork and things transferred, it was the biggest headache, because unfortunately, with, let me get it right, Medicaid, it does not transfer from state to state. So I had to reapply. And guess what? I had to reapply, and I didn't have his birth certificate. I didn't have his social security card. So I had to order those things. And it's a certain deadline that you have to meet. And when you don't meet the deadline, you have to start the process all over again. And so it was so frustrating dealing with this paperwork. Then, getting the paperwork to be his power of attorney, going up to the hospital every day, going up to the rehab every day. Then when he came home from the rehab, taking him to his doctor's appointments, things like that. It was just like, hey, I didn't sign up for this. I didn't sign up for this, right? Like, I didn't know that that would be a part of my story at some point in
Yeah.
my life, right? And so just knowing that, I know so many people who are caregivers and who have been caregivers longer than I have been. And I feel like, even though it was for 87 days, I feel like God allowed me to be this caretaker so that I can understand, right? And empathize with them and know those feelings, so that it can be placed on my heart to want to bless somebody in that area. And so, so I wanted to bless 3 caregivers. It looks like it's going to be 5 now at this point, because the stories of these caregivers has touched my heart in so many ways, where I'm like, I can't say no, I can't deny you. And so we're raising funds for that as well at the event. And so we're going to offer each caregiver a spiritual and life coaching session with Pray the Impossible. We're going to offer them wellness services with Bloom and Groom Wellness Lounge. And then we're going to offer them personal training sessions with the Den. So that's touching on you spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and physically, which happen to be what we focus on and address, right? To address the whole person. And so while we're at the event, another way that we're going to raise funds, I'm having an auction. I have anywhere between someone donating an hour massage. I have someone donating who's a teacher. She's donating 5 tutoring sessions. So if there's people who have children and their kids need tutoring, we have that. We have somebody who's also auctioning off for those people who have been like, I want to write a book, I want to be an author. She's offering a publishing contract. So we have items, we have about 15 items that in total where it's valued over $6,000.
Wow.
And so you can buy an auction ticket for $5 and you might win that publishing contract that's valued at $3,000. And so I just want to raise these funds in any capacity so that I can help and be a blessing and to give back to people, because that's what it's all about. Everybody's going through something. Everybody's going through something, whether you're a caregiver or you're a teacher or, whatever it is, we all have our own stresses and frustrations. And it feels good to have somebody think about you and to treat you and to bless you unexpectedly when you weren't even thinking about it, and the blessing is coming at the right time where you need it. So that's why I wanna because I remember those. It's still playing. It's only been 9 months, but I can still remember those days of going to the hospital, and it was just so dreadful. Like, and it's draining. And so, I remember around that time, I had stopped working out, and my trainer's like, Brandi, no, you have to keep working out. Like, get up early, come here, we'll work out. It's gonna make you feel better, and it did, because I was able to get my mental right.
And I think part of what makes it draining is the fact that you also don't want to let the person feel like this is an inconvenience. You never want them to feel like that, because they probably already feel like I'm inconveniencing you. Sorry about this, that kind of a thing. And I'm like, no, like, come on, like, I'm your daughter, because when you mentioned the doctor's appointments, I have done that. That has been me. You know what I mean? Like, he was totally, my dad, I'm speaking about my dad, folks. Yeah. He was totally able to, he was still working and all that stuff. But when it comes to doctors and information and paperwork and medications, I wanted to know what was going on, So I went to those doctor's appointments because he never wanted me to worry. So I'm like, forget worrying. I want to know what's happening,
Right.
So I would definitely go to all those doctor's appointments, and I would go over like after school, because I'm a teacher. So I would go sit for a little while in the evening, then I would come on back home, to where I live. But there's this, for me, it was like, I just need to know what is happening. And then some of the frustrating things I had to deal with was insurance companies and people not talking to me because I wasn't him. You know what I mean? And then they have to make sure, and I understood it. So I never really got mad at them. It was just an annoying process because he's sitting right here. He's giving, he said I can, well, we need to hear from him. Okay, fine.
Yes.
Daddy,
I would have to, I had to put him on speakerphone, give him the okay, and then,
But, I don't think a lot of people think about things like that. If you've never had to be a caregiver, those little things can make things so complicated that it's just like, come on, I'm his daughter. We just talked, look in the notes, you can say, well, until your name is on some paperwork, we can't talk to you. I'm like, but it is what it is. But I'm so glad that you are taking the time to kind of just put shine a light on some caregivers, because they really do deserve it. And they deserve to not feel selfish for taking the time to do something for themselves. And you don't want them to feel guilty either for being away from the person. They have to understand that, look, if I don't take care of myself, I'm not going to be able to be a caregiver.
Right.
So let me just take this little time out, because that's the one thing I had completely stopped doing. Like, he would have to tell me, Donna, go out to eat with your friends, like go out to, and I'm like, no, that's okay. He's like, Donna, I'll be fine. That kind of a thing. Because there's a thing, when you have a parent who's not well, you don't want anything to happen when you're not there. And then you
Yes.
feel like, I don't want to have to live with that.
Yes.
I've been here all this time, and then the one day I decide to go
One
out,
day you decide, and it's like, that's the day that, it may happen. And it's like,
right. So, I do think things work out the way that they're supposed to. And I just think that this is your time to do what it is that you're doing. God is blessing you so that you can bless others. And that's really what it's all about.
absolutely.
So, okay, we've talked about how people can donate, where they can find you. So they can go to the same place for your services, because you are still doing life coaching.
Yes, they can actually go to praytheimpossible.com, and they can schedule a free 30-minute introductory session with me, and we can tap into, some fears and obstacles that have hindered you from living your best life. So for life coaching and spiritual coaching purposes, they can head over to praytheimpossible.com.
So now the event this weekend, is it sold out, as in, can people still purchase tickets, or is it too late? Because it is Friday.
I know. No, people can still purchase tickets. We still have some tickets available. So, yes. So if you have your kicks and you have a nice cocktail attire, a cute dress or a nice blazer, jean, whatever it is, as long as you have on kicks, that's all I'm asking for, so that we can be in unison with the theme. But no, tickets, we still have some tickets left. So yes, if people are still interested and would love to come out, it's going to be at Pier 115 in Edgewater, New Jersey. And so yes, we still have tickets available.
That's a nice place.
Yeah.
That's a nice place. So ladies and gentlemen, if you are not busy on Sunday, make your way to that website. Go to Eventbrite, get that ticket, and get on down to Pier 115 and enjoy yourself for a good cause. Brandi, thanks again for joining me. I'm just going to say thank you all for listening to this episode of Cuzn Chat. I am on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. So I would love it if you would follow me. That would be great. I also have some videos on YouTube that you can check out. And if you head to my website, which is cuznChat.com, that's CUZNCHAT.com. If you click around, you'll see that there are some episode covers, and you can see the topics that I'm covering. And there are also some videos there as well. But when you look at the podcast covers, if you see the topic that you want to hear an episode about, just click on it and it'll take you right to the episode. But click around, because we have some great things that we're doing with Cuzn Chat as well. So again, Brandi, thanks again for joining me. So until we come back to our next Cuzn Chat, just think about all of that. Be blessed, everybody. Bye-bye.
Night.